And welcome to another edition of the HS Game Time Live Blitz. I'm Fernandez, and this is the Big Ticket KG, Kyle Glaser. Kyle, I love Wednesdays. We've always got a lot to talk about, and this Wednesday, definitely living up to that billing. National Signing Day, a week from today. We're going to get to that, plus some high school basketball coaching news possibly, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a little bit of some drama going on. Stay tuned for that.
All right, so we're going to talk high school basketball. We got National Signing Day, which will, we're really going to hit hard with some of these high-profile football guys, as well as we're going to dig into more high school basketball for the boys, Sunkist League, Southwestern League, as well as the Ambassador League. You went? Did you go to that game last week?
I did not.
There was a stringer, right, for the Woodcrest Christian Loma Linda Academy. That was a huge one in the Ambassador League.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll talk about just how close that league is. Probably the tightest league race in the entire Inland Empire.
And we've got to hit some wrestling because now we're getting into the postseason, the Big 8 League Finals, mini league final tournaments coming up, and then you move on to the section and the Masters and so forth to the road to Bakersfield for the state tournament. And then we're going to go back to the Mountain Pass League and talk girls soccer because a lot of the league races, including the Southwestern League, they've got that team that just kind of separates themselves from the rest. But the Mountain Pass League is a big mess, which is great because there's 3 teams within striking distance, and we're going to break that down as well. But a week from today, National Signing Day. Football in the Inland Empire is a hotbed right now. A lot of great players, Kyle, go in Division I. And let's start with something that you've been writing a lot about is Centennial. They're the football factory in this area. They're always cranking out these guys go in Division I. And I think you put out a blog not too long ago of all the guys around the IE that are going signing college scholarships, but a lot of them are Centennial guys.
Yeah, really there's 4 or 5 guys from Centennial. We'll see what exactly happens on signing day. But the big thing is it's not just, guys, they're 2 stars. We're talking about the prime recruits of the Inland Empire. Vianney Talamavau is far and away the top recruit in the IE. Centennial currently committed to USC. You also have Trey Watson, the reigning area player of the year on offense, committed to Cal. We'll see if he stays with that commitment. Jalen Johnson recently, actually just today, committed to Washington, originally Boise State. Chris Peterson leaves, goes to Washington. Johnson follows him.
Breaking news, like right now in the Blitz?
A couple hours ago.
Okay, that's breaking news to me. Okay.
Yeah, and then you have also a guy like Austin Malawada. That's a guy who was committed to USC. He's decommitted. We're going to see where he ends up. So Centennial and Vista Marietta, they were the 2 best teams in the Inland Empire all year. Shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. They have the most guys that are going to be going to either FBS or FCS programs. We'll see what the total number is, but we're going to have around 40 total guys when you take into account all the high schools and guys who went to high school around here and went to junior college or local junior college guys. 40 guys or so on signing day. Combined, 13, 14 of them are going to be from Vista Marietta or Centennial alone. So you're really talking about 2 schools making up the vast majority of all the college talent in the area.
And if you want to even broaden your horizon beyond that, we're looking at video of the Open Division Southern California Regional Championship between Centennial and St. John Bosco. A lot of heavy hitters, big names on the field that day. You mentioned Vianney Talamavau. He was actually supposed to join us here on the show, but if some school that really likes him, USC, kind of got in the way. So Vianney and his dad, Chris, they said they would love to be on our show next week. So Vianney planning to sign with USC at this point, and then he'll join us here live on the Blitz to kind of talk about his decision to decommit from Alabama and go to Troy.
Yeah, we saw a lot of decommitments this year. Really a lot of the Centennial guys. Barry Ware, wide receiver, UCLA to Washington State. Mentioned Vianney, mentioned Jalen, Austin Malawada, and Trey Watson's been the one guy who's stuck with his school from the very beginning. But a lot of people think he's going to decommit. So we'll see what happens on signing day. There's always that drama of, are they going to go? Are they going to stay? Who's really solid with their team? I'm not personally a big fan of the whole hat switcheroo at the last second. I'm kind of a man of your word type. But I also understand that these kids, need to do what's best for them academically and athletically, particularly with coaching changes, scholarship limits and reductions. We'll see what happens. Another group that I think really need to watch, you have 2 kids from Heritage that are going D1, 2 more going D2, so that's been a very good program as well. Sione Takitaki, Limahai Hifo, both scheduled to go. We also have
Evan Rodriguez, right? And
Evan Rodriguez and Matthew Palmer are going to be going to Azusa Pacific, a good D2 program. We've also seen a couple linemen really pick up. Most recently, Dallas House on the defensive side, going to go to Portland State. Linfield Christian, first position player in Linfield Christian school history to get a full scholarship to do a Division I program.
It's big time.
Big time, definitely.
Yeah.
You have Ruben Mesa down at Marietta Mesa going to Sac State. And then recently, Abraham Nuno, Valley View, a guy that, smart guy we liked. He's going to go to USD, a good FCS program as well. So we're seeing a lot of guys, who weren't the 5-star, 4, even 3-star recruits, but they're going and getting the opportunity to play really good FCS, which is still Division I caliber program. So you've got those heavy hitters on top, the Centennials, the Vista Marietas, Heritages of the world. Then you've got some of those other schools also getting some love and some respect from the college recruiters.
Well, let me ask you this, Kyle, because I've heard this more than one time that, a guy is a good player, but his junior season maybe doesn't get enough playing time, maybe he doesn't have like a huge breakout season, but then he does his senior year, and they feel like it's almost too late. Even though, you're still in high school, you're a senior, you should be plenty of time to commit to somebody. But is that too late? I mean, do you have to have a huge junior season?
It's not too late. It definitely gives you a significant leg up if you have that big junior season where you have a lot of playing time, you perform, and this goes for all sports. Really, the more playing time you have at the earlier age you have, whether it's freshman, sophomore, junior, it definitely gives you a leg up. I think some colleges make the terrible mistake of all but ignoring a player's senior season just because the race, right now for recruits and how early it starts in all sports. This goes beyond football. But, we've seen guys who have really good senior years still come out with offers. We mentioned Corey Young at Norco was a guy who didn't really have any Division I offers, has a huge senior season going to Boise State. We've had some other guys, over the years really have that strong senior year and get an offer. So it's not impossible, but yeah, I think you look at a lot of these guys, they were already on the rivals list as 3- and 4-star guys before their senior year even started, so they definitely had a leg up.
And National Signing Day has become a holiday of sorts for football fans. I mean, if you watch any of the big, networks on television, they do big signing day specials, and how the high-profile programs across the country, from the SEC to the Pac-12, who got what player, and what does this mean looking forward to the future, and their projected, recruiting class, and what this all means. And when you look at those, I mean, they do involve a lot of our IE guys. I mean, like you mentioned, Buzzy Bolton from Vista Marietta going to Oklahoma, another premier program out of the Big 12. I mean, so these guys, as you mentioned, a lot of players go in a lot of different places, but a lot of these guys are going to those premier programs.
Yeah, exactly. And we see it year in and year out. You have, a guy like Marcus Ball goes to Ohio State last year. We've had guys, I mean, you name it. Anywhere across the country.
Stringfellows at Washington.
Ronald Powell goes to Florida. I mean, you're talking about guys going coast to coast year in and year out. So, yeah, I mean, I think most of the major football conferences do have an Inland Empire player making an impact for them at some level. But the thing we all have to keep in mind is, while signing day is this, really exciting day for the kids and their families, the stats show that half of these kids are really not going to have any impact at the schools they sign with, whether it's they never get off the bench, whether it's they have to transfer out to a lower division program, whether it's they don't make grades. So, I mean, on the one hand, yes, it's exciting, but I think the people have to realize that a lot of these kids are signing up for the hardest 4 years they're probably going to ever have in terms of what's going to be asked of them weight training-wise, academically, with NCAA rules, someone always watching over them. I think it's a lot of people still don't understand how much work goes into being a college athlete, once you step on campus. And, we've seen it. I wrote something about the quarterbacks earlier this year. We've had about 20 area quarterbacks go sign with a D1 program out of high school. One of those guys, has managed to get the starting job and actually hang on to it for his career once he got it, and that was Taylor Martinez. You got 3 other guys who got benched, but, were able to do something with it. Another 16, 17 had to transfer and go somewhere else. So, I mean, sign day is exciting, but we also need to calm down and not say, oh, hey, this guy signed this letter of intent, he's the next superstar.
Yeah. Because there's superstars everywhere at this point.
And this goes beyond football. This is every single sport. So I do think that while, yes, it's exciting, we should celebrate, it's a big accomplishment for all the kids involved and their families and their parents. Take it down a notch and understand that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. Yeah. And if you don't continue to work hard and do well in school and keep a good head on your shoulders, signing day would sadly be the highlight of your college career, if you will. No one wants that.
college athletics, definitely grueling, but it is an opportunity to, like you said, if you keep your grades up, it's a free education. If you
Right.
work it all the way out and
It's
get
an
that degree, and
the chance to earn this opportunity is incredible. A lot of people never get this chance, and so the people involved should be very proud that they've earned that. But now they have to take advantage. Just because they've earned that chance doesn't mean they've earned a starting spot or a future draft pick or success for the next 4 or 5 years of their life.
And I think you agree with me on this. I love signing day because now we can finally say, hey, he's signed with Alabama. He's signed with USC. Because before it's like, well, I've committed to Washington. Well, what does that really mean?
Right.
To me, it really doesn't mean anything. I know a lot of the boosters and the people behind these football programs get really excited when they get this 5-star, 4-star guy saying, I've committed to UCLA, which is great. But what does that really mean in the long run? When you put the pen to the paper, then it's a done deal.
My favorite one was Cammy Delp, a 4-star offensive lineman. Was at the Semper Fidelis All-American Bowl on national television, grabbed a microphone and said, I'm committing to Arizona State, and a week and a half later reopened his recruitment. I mean, so yeah.
So is he still open?
He's still open, non-committed, a week after going on national TV and committing. And that's a very common story. So once again, not criticizing, the kids who do that right or wrong. It just shows once again that you're right. None of it matters. And that's why, sometimes we even hesitate. Do we report a kid verbally committed? Because it doesn't totally mean,
like how much stock do you actually put in it is what it boils down to, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And some more than others, and we'll see. At the end of the day, this is going to be a fun day. A lot of great kids signing. We want to see, there's always going to be, once again, kids who maybe don't sign on signing day, but a couple weeks later do. We saw even a guy like Redlands Craig Lee last year couldn't sign on signing day because there were some issues with grades, but was able to get it done 3 months later. So in some ways, signing day isn't it's the biggest moment, but it's not the end of all these signings. It's just the beginning.
If I was going to put you on the spot right now, and I know you love when I do that.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a guy out there that, we're talking about all these big names and going to these high-profile college football programs, but a guy out there that maybe had a big season, but he's for whatever reason fell through the cracks. Like he's not getting the offers, and you're scratching your head saying, why isn't this guy getting a Division I? Maybe it's a Brett Hollingsworth. I mean, that's kind of the guy that jumps out at me. But is there a guy out there that maybe doesn't have all those scholarship offers in front of him, but he's a great player? He just deserves the chance to go somewhere and show that.
Elsinore linebacker Ryan Laverdiere. This is a guy who has put up 100+ tackles every year. He can, go and defend the pass. He can run block. He's got the size. He's 6'3", 220 something. He's got everything you look for in a linebacker. I'm not sure exactly why he hasn't gotten the offers he's looking for, but he's played at a high level for many years. He's done it against some very good opponents, and he's coming from a system that does produce college players. I think he's a guy that a school out there has an extra scholarship lying around would be very smart to look at him.
How about Robert Weber as the next Johnny Manziel? How about that? You like that?
There's no question that Robert Weber has done a lot of things.
All he does is win.
He throws, he runs, he completes his passes, short, long, you name it, runs a very complicated offense, smart guy, leader. There's no questions asked. I just went with Laverdiere because it's like, okay, well, what's the question people have on Weber?
Yeah.
It's the size thing. You don't have that question with Laverdiere. Just for whatever reason, it hasn't happened. But yeah, I've been saying it all year that I think that if Robert Weber goes into the right system for him, a program that'll let him, move around and use his playmaking ability, while also really letting him be himself and thrive as the leader that he is, a lot of good things can happen. If you put him in a system that's going to ask him to drop back and stay in the pocket 40 times a game, and a coach, drill into him, you don't improvise, you do what I tell you, that might not be the best fit for him. But in reality, that goes for all these players. They've got to go to a school that fits them in terms of the coaches and the system. It's not just, oh, hey, I'm going to a program that wins a lot. There's a lot more that goes into it. But yeah, whatever school's smart enough to pick up Robert Weber is going to get themselves a hell of a player and a hell of a person to have on their team.
A good leader, and like I said, all he does is win. If you're looking at the guy who's going to go out there, I've compared him to Tim Tebow. People criticize Tim Tebow. People look at Robert Weber and say, oh, maybe his height is a drawback, and people say, oh, Tim Tebow, he can't throw. but he wins.
Russell Wilson's 5'11". He's in the Super Bowl.
There you go.
So.
I mean, if a guy can go out there and lead your team and he's good at what he does and wins, that's what it all boils down to. And I know you're an Arizona State guy. Mm-hmm. So when USC's drawing all these big name players, maybe it hurts a little bit more, stings you a little bit more?
Not really, because I'm one of those guys that I don't believe in putting all my hopes on
a freshman class,
on 17-year-olds who may or may not qualify academically, and a lot of times these guys who are signing, they take a couple years. Of course there's the guys like Asua Cravens who step in as a freshman and have an immediate impact, but they're few and far between. So in reality, it's more a matter of, all right, cool, these guys, everyone says they're supposed to be good, but I'm more focused on our returning starting quarterback, the guys who have proven it, because so many of these guys aren't going to make it. I don't know if it's worth putting all your hopes or all your doubts on, once again, a group of 17, 18-year-old kids who are still finding their way in the world.
Well, let me say this. So, Vianney Talamaival, who has pledged to join us here on the Blitz next week, has committed to USC. And a lot of the biggest names in Southern California who remain uncommitted are kind of in Vianney's circle. So I'm talking about Cammy Delp, who you just mentioned, Juju Smith at Long Beach Poly, Damian Mama, who actually have videos, funny, of the two at the Bosco game, hanging out after the game. So, maybe Vianney is going to bring all his homies to USC. Now, Coach Ogeron got them on the right track. A lot of people are excited that Sarkisian's there now. And if they get some of these big names from Southern California, maybe the rise of USC continues. They've already got Sua Cravens. That doesn't hurt either.
Yeah, look, USC, we've talked about, I think a lot of people have talked about, they're one of those programs that even in a down year, they're still going to attract the best of the best. Just the name, what's been built there over the years, from the Pete Carroll years back to the John McCain and John Robinson years.
Well, let me jump in real quick. If you think about it, a lot of these kids, they saw USC when they were at their peak.
Absolutely.
So they grew up as USC fans, and that was always in their head. Oh, man, I wish I could be a Trojan.
And, I was going back and looking historically at some of the guys who have, and it seems like for decades, the best in the IE go to USC. And really you can say that about Southern California as a whole. UCLA is obviously a great program. A lot of kids have ended up from SoCal in the Arizona schools, the Oregon schools, the Washington schools. But really when it comes down to it, the best of the best tend to flock to USC. And in any given year, you could absolutely look and see the top, 10 recruits in the state, and top 10 or 15 recruits, I should say, in Southern California, and 7 or 8 of them are going to USC. That's pretty much on par. So
because they grow up as fans, is that what you're thinking? They grow up, their dad likes USC.
It's a combination.
See them on TV.
It's the combination of TV, fandom. It's close by, so it's not like you're going to this whole new world. You see a lot of guys that do go to a Texas or an Alabama, and they come back because even though it's a great program, it's just a whole different world out there. So the combination of close proximity, family can come see them play. Most of them have friends that are going to these schools because, once again, just naturally, even beyond sports, people tend to go to places that are closer to home than farther. So it's all kind of a perfect storm. And it's just like the kids in Texas tend to go to UT, the kids in the South tend to go to Alabama and LSU and Florida, and the kids in the Midwest tend to go to Ohio State and Michigan. I mean, the best of the best in their regions tend to flock to the same few schools. USC is that in the West.
All right, once again, we are live here in our HS Game Time studio bringing you the Blitz, and sponsored by Adrenaline Athletic Training. And I've got some video because we all miss Leonard Russell. We haven't seen Leonard since around Christmas time, so we miss Leonard and being at the facility, but we're going to be back there real soon. But we just once again want to thank Adrenaline.
He's really trying.
We're looking at some video of Leonard actually working with some kids, but it was one of those days when we caught him playing soccer, which is kind of out of his element, but he's still actually pretty good. I think whatever Leonard does, he does it very well.
It's one of those things with professional athletes. You see them and they just translate seamlessly. I remember watching Sidney Crosby take batting practice, not a baseball player at all, and start taking bombs out of PNC Park. You're just like, that's just not fair.
It's not.
So, former pro athlete, not surprised he could do it all.
So, if you're at Adrenaline, you've got Leonard Russell, NFL guy, David Johnson, played for the LA Galaxy. You've got star players across the board. Mindy Cowles, Arizona State star, local softball star. She's a fellow Sun Devil as you are.
The fork, baby.
Yeah, so, there's lots of big-time coaches there at Adrenaline Athletic Training. They got the Riverside and also the Corona facility, so we got to thank these guys for sponsoring the Blitz all season long. All right, we'll get back to football on National Signing Day next Wednesday when we break it all down and players actually put the pen to paper. But let's go to high school basketball. And last night, Tuesday night, Mike Bartee and JW North picked up a win against Vista Del Lago, and we all believed it was tying the Inland Area career wins record. And we thought tomorrow night on Thursday he could go for the record against Canyon Springs. Now that still might be the case, but we're trying to get some clarity here because there's some discrepancy with the career numbers.
So Cal High Sports is kind of the official keeper of all the records, and the Press Enterprise has its own records department as well, headed up by Eric Paul Johnson, my esteemed colleague. And the general policy is they count on the court or on the field results with coaching wins. Forfeits, if a team, is forced to forfeit a bunch of wins, after the fact, they don't count that, which I personally like, because I think a lot of the times that whole vacating, if you won the game, you won the game, period.
Yes.
Regardless.
On the floor. Yeah.
Well, apparently, back in 1981-82, when Mike Bartee was the coach at Paris, the Panthers had to forfeit 13 games due to an ineligible player. Cal High Sports and our records department hadn't been counting those 13 as wins for Mike Bartee because they didn't know about them. They came to light last night while I was at the game and got some paperwork sorted out. It was sent over to me. I'm talking to Cal High Sports. So we're kind of trying to figure out where the official records are going to stand. But there's a very real chance, based on that policy and depending on how this all shakes out, Mike Bartee might actually be at 640 career wins, which means he broke the record a couple weeks ago.
13 games ago, right?
But it just goes to show the records are so strange. And this is not the first time. Bill Armstrong, longtime coach in the 20s and 40s, had 200 wins lopped off of his record a couple years back because they found out, oh, wait, some of these wins were at JV programs. But, 1929 in Barstow, it's really
who's paying attention
to find that out.
Yes.
So, and then actually just this past month, Ed Azam at Westchester, everyone thought was approaching the LA City section all-time wins record. Well, somehow 50 extra wins or so got into his record. No one knows how. So they went back, looked it up, and said, okay, we don't know where these came from. We're taking him off. And so he's actually well short of the record. But those are subtracting wins. I don't know if we've seen a case where add the wins. So
if that's the case, the great Mike Bartee unceremoniously picked up the win 628, which would be the new Inland Area record. I think it was in December against Vista Del Lago.
Right. So either way, he's either broken it or he's going to break it tomorrow. Congrats to Mike Bartee.
We're trying to sort this out.
Right. So, but it's one of those things where I learned this after I've written all these articles. Hey, he's about to break it, and then this comes to my attention. I'm like, really?
But you know what? I think EPJ made a good point that Mike Bartee does not want the limelight. So if he did win number 628, he did it in probably a half-empty gym with no fanfare.
Knowing,
yeah.
Which is exactly how he would have wanted it. So in a way, it's almost poetic.
All right. So now let's move on to the Southwestern League. And Temecula Valley has separated themselves, and they did something last night on Tuesday night against Moreno Valley that they haven't done since, I believe, 2007.
Yeah, 7-year drought. They finally beat Moreno Valley, the Nighthawks, who have been kind of the premier program in the Southwestern League for a while now under Steve Tarabilda. Temecula Valley, look, they've got the best player in the Southwest in Justin Simon. He might be the best player in the Inland Empire. It's going to be an interesting debate when it comes time to do Player of the Year awards. They just beat Great Oak. Mm-hmm. They beat Moreno Valley. They've won a lot of their showcase games. Right now, they're number 3 in our HS Game Time top 10 rankings. And they're starting to separate themselves as, they're the clear number 3. Most of the season, that spot's kind of rotated. I think it's going to be very hard for anyone to unseat Temecula Valley as long as they keep this up.
So we've got Centennial, right? Then North at number 2, and then Temecula Valley at number 3.
Yeah, and the Golden Bears, look, they can. What's nice about them is they can run you off the court. They can buckle down and get a stop when they need to at big moments. We've seen that against Great Oak and Moreno Valley's last 2 games. They're beating local opponents. They're beating non-local opponents. I still go back to a second-place finish at the Mission Viejo Diablo Invitational way back at the beginning of the year. That was a really, really impressive tournament showing for them. I think Temecula Valley is definitely a team to watch for as the season moves forward. They're ranked number 4 in Division 1A. Temecula Valley North Final, if North didn't get into the Open Division, and if North is in the Open Division, Temecula Valley all of a sudden becomes a very, very good candidate
to go all the way.
All the way in 1A.
All right, so the first time through the Southwestern League, the Golden Bears 5-0, and shout out to Jeff Parenti. He does a great job with those Southwestern League and also the Sun Belt
Best
schools.
basketball writer on our staff, boys basketball writer on our staff, and I should know because I'm the other one.
He lives, breathes, and literally everything encompassing basketball down there.
He's definitely the guy.
All right, let's go to the Sunkist League. You brought this to light to me.
Yeah.
Kaiser enjoying a great season in Sunkist.
Yeah, so Kaiser has never won a boys basketball league title in history, and it's strange because Kaiser's been so dominant in a lot of other sports. Football's been great, baseball's been great. It's really become, you could argue, the top flight sports program in Fontana, especially in recent years. Well, the Cats right now are undefeated in the league. They're 4-0 entering tonight. They're, I believe, 13-4 overall, so they've got a nice overall record. And yeah, I mean, they're on track to win their first Sunkist League title or first league title of any type in boys basketball history.
And so congratulations to Kaiser. We know they did well in baseball, football. You can add basketball now to for the Cats. And let's go to the Ambassador League now. I know Woodcrest Christian and Loma Linda Academy played for first place last week, right? Mm-hmm. I had a chance to see Arrowhead Christian play Linfield in person, not this past Friday, but the Friday before. ACA was really good, but it sounds like Woodcrest right now is that team to beat in the Ambassador League.
Well, they're in first place at 7-2, but that's actually the thing is we don't know who the team to beat is yet. There are 6 teams within 2.5 games of first. They've all kind of taken turns beating each other. If you take out the bottom, number 6 there, Linfield Christian, it's 5 teams within 2 games of first. Arrowhead Christian, Woodcrest Christian are 2 local teams that are really pushing. You have Loma Linda Academy right there, Ontario Christian and Western Christian. I mean, they can all win this league. Woodcrest is in the driver's seat. If they win the rest of their games, they got it. It's a pretty impressive turnaround for the Royals. They were 1-13 in league play 2 years ago. So to go from that to driver's seat for the league championship through 9 league games, it's a pretty impressive turnaround.
It is. Once again, thanks to Adrenaline Athletic Training for sponsoring the Blitz as we move to girls basketball. And in the River Valley League, it really starts and ends with Patriot. Patriot, one of those top teams in all the inland area. They went to the finals of the Riverside Poly tournament before losing to Chaparral. But Patriot is beginning to run away with the River Valley League. But beyond Patriot for second, third place, La Sierra is right there, as is Moreno Valley. And I saw Moreno Valley last week, Kyle. And not only is Moreno Valley much improved, but this is a team that we talk about Woodcrest Christian turning things around. According to their head coach, Justin Remington, they were 2-60 the last 4 years. They're 10-8, 3-2 right now in league play. So the culture has been changing. So I caught up with them to just talk about, taking a program that was 1-17 last year, and they're already at the 10-win mark and thinking playoffs at Moval.
Last year they were 1-17. And then the years before that, I think the last 4 years, they were 2-60. I think that was their record. And now, they've and it took a while for us to build that confidence. But the girls have responded tremendously, and I'm so proud of them. And, I hope we can just keep it going. And I just knew that we had to get the girls in and get them committed early. So we had a lot of team meetings at first, and we talked about commitment, and we talked about perspective. And then we went out and we scheduled a lot of games with like Norco, King, and there were controlled scrimmages. We played these controlled scrimmages, and we showed them that you guys can play with some of the best teams in the league in these controlled scrimmages. You guys are good, okay? And you got to believe that. And you guys, they were being committed, and then I think through their commitment of being here every day, because that wasn't here the previous years. There are people who are quitting halfway through the year. So that's not happening this year. Girls are here, they're here on time, they're working hard every practice, and there's an excitement and a culture here now. When we walk around campus, people are excited to come watch the girls play basketball, and that hasn't been here for the past couple of years. Yeah, he used to always say, him and his dad. His dad was also a great football coach. Used to say, you got to learn this much every day. And I tell my girls that sometimes as well, if you learn this much every day, by the time the end of the season's here, you've learned a lot of things. It adds up. And that's when you can start building your program, you can start building your team to be competitive in years to come. And I think that's highly important. I mean, if you're not taking anything away, I always say this, if you're not getting better at practice, you're getting worse, you never stay the same. And I think that goes hand in hand with you got to learn this much every day, because if you're not, then you're not learning anything. You're actually becoming worse of a player. So I took that away from his coaching philosophy. In the end, our goal is to go in the playoffs. We are in a very tough playoff division, 2AA. You got the Cajones and the Foothills and teams like that are going to, be tough. But, they haven't been to the playoffs since, I believe, 2009 or 2010. And for us to achieve that would be our number one goal, our number one mission right now.
It's way different. The practices are different. The girls' commitment actually shows. Last year, it's maybe we'll go to practice, maybe. This is like, oh, I want to go to practice. We're definitely going to practice no matter what. I've been on varsity all 4 years, and out of the 3 past years, we haven't won one league game, and right now we're 3-1. So it's a big change.
The basketball program is much better. Our practices are harder, more difficult, and the commitment is totally there, because last year we had no commitment whatsoever. Or well, we did, but it was very little. Hard work. We had to play hard and smart, and commitment, and we had to play together as a family.
So there was some of the Moval Vikings and their head coach, Justin Remington, good friends with Pete Garza, the head football coach at Canyon Springs. So a lot of what he implements for his basketball team on the court, he kind of picked up those tips and lessons from Garza.
And thus the turnaround. Canyon Springs was a program that hadn't done much and got to the playoffs this year, kind of took everyone by surprise. And so, model one program after another across sports, and it works.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Gridiron to the basketball court. And speaking of the basketball court, before we leave girls basketball, we got to touch on what Jalen Brown did for Vista Murrieta. I don't know if she's the player of the year, but she's got to be in the conversation, right, for the IE.
I mean, 44 points last night. This is a really, really good basketball player. When you look at some of the future recruiting rankings, obviously this year, Monique Billings at Santiago, Cheyenne Greenhouse at Canyon Springs, but Jalen Brown's name has been popping up. I believe she's a sophomore, so it would be 2 classes from now. She's definitely going to be someone to watch as she continues to grow and continues to mature. Vista Murrieta obviously has a very good basketball tradition in the school's short history. Serafina Malupe in recent years. And Jalen Brown's kind of taken the torch. So we'll see. Obviously you don't expect anyone to keep up a 44 points per game pace, but to have a record-breaking performance like that in league play, it's not like they were playing the Little Sisters of the Poor from the who knows where league. I mean, Chaparral and Southwestern league play is never easy. It's quite a moment.
And Jalen Brown has Vista Murrieta in position to win a league title, and we had Great Oak, high up in our rankings. I think if you looked at Max Preps, Great Oak was like way up in the state rankings as well.
Yeah.
But Jalen Brown has the Broncos in position to do some special things this year.
And a lot of times, as much as yes, basketball is a team game, and a lot of things have to happen, it's also I think the most individual of all the major sports that a lot of the major sports. So if you have that one player who can hit shots from anywhere on the floor and can make plays and can get anywhere they want, you have a chance to win. And with Vista Murrieta and Jalen Brown, they're going to have that. They're probably, really, if you think about it, there's not going to be many games Vista Murrieta plays where there's going to be a better scorer on the floor than her. And that's an advantage in and of itself.
All right, now we go on to wrestling. A lot of the league meets are coming up this weekend, and we've got the CIF individual and then the team tournaments, masters, and then everything culminates with the state tournament.
I can't believe it's league finals time already.
Can you believe
that? How did that happen?
It's, I think, because football just blends into basketball. It's like, oh my gosh, wrestling, here we go. So they're gearing up for the state tournament, the road to Rabobank Arena in Bakersfield. And our one local guy who was ranked number 1 in the state, Mike Longo from Santiago, number 1 at 138. But he lost at the Canyon Springs tournament in the finals to a guy kind of your neck of the woods, Poway.
And you know what?
Towards that way, which is a powerhouse.
Poway kind of beats everyone, so it's one of those things where I wouldn't sweat it. I think Longo is still a state title contender. Losing to anyone from Poway in any year is like, you can't beat yourself up over it.
The Poway kid was ranked, I think, like number 5 or 6 in the state. So even though he beat Longo, it was like a mild upset because those still 2 great wrestlers. Right. And if anything, Longo will come back more motivated to wrestle this guy who he won't see again until they get to the state tournament because of the sections.
And I've long said I really truly believe when it comes to a lot of the individual sports, whether it's wrestling, tennis, cross country, I think it's good to get beaten once or twice over the course of the season just to kind of get your mind right, to show, hey, I'm not invincible. Obviously, you want to win everything, but sometimes I think that, if you're just blowing by everyone, sometimes when you do get a challenge, you're not quite sure how to respond, as opposed to a situation like this. So this could be definitely one of those cases where, all right, you drop one, you make some adjustments, you learn from it, and you come back a better wrestler.
That's an excellent point, Kyle. We caught up with Mike Longo at the Canyon Springs tournament, and he just talked about wrestling in general and how he tries to relax, because stress, wrestling can be a stressful thing. Watching your weight and always in the the wrestling room. It's a very strenuous sport. So we caught up with Mike Longo to talk all things grappling.
Number one, it's just there is a target on your back, and that I just feel like I just got to bring it every single match, not change anything I do. I just have to wrestle my match in order to win every time. Yeah, definitely. I'm getting better every day. I have such good workout partners and such a great coach. My coach, Micah Carter, who can small enough to roll around with me and beat me up at the same time. And coming out here and working on the things that we work on in practice and just improving my skills every single weekend and every single match. I think I've really improved a lot on my top game, and that's one thing that me and my coach have been working on a lot. I feel really solid on my feet. I know no one can ride me. I'm working on honing all my skills as an all-around wrestler, and I'm getting there, but I'm not there quite yet. So once time March comes around, I think I'll be ready. I love to work on cars. My very first car was a 1972 Chevy pickup truck that I restored all the way up. So I really enjoy working on cars, and I just like relaxing a lot too. I love wrestling, and that's my biggest. I'm always wrestling, but if you don't catch me wrestling, I'm probably relaxing, watching movies. Or those Broncos out there, the old Broncos are real nice.
Do you have another car, like a project you'd like to work on?
Not right now. I mean, that was my freshman, sophomore year. I really enjoyed working on cars, and after that, now it's just been focusing on wrestling. I used to play football, and right now it's just all wrestling. I didn't play football this year, and working on getting to college, and I finally got my college ride, so now I'm just really excited. I'll be wrestling in Division I next year and just having fun. Yeah, I'll be attending Appalachian State next year. It's out in North Carolina, so it's going to be a big culture shock to me, I think. But I really want to get out to the world and see what else there is other than California and all the different weather and everything else.
Do people say, Mike, where's Appalachian State? I mean, do they say, where is that place?
Yeah, I don't think people really understand, it's a Division I program, and I'm lucky that they found me when they did, because they got me right before I started springing up in those national rankings, and I'm really excited to go there. They got great coaches and a really good wrestling partner for me out there, and I'm just really excited to be out there, far away from home, and I'm going to miss home, but it's really building me as a person. I'm going to find out a lot about myself.
All right, Kyle. So Mike Longo, star wrestler for Santiago. He's going to Division I, Appalachian State. I'm going to put you on the spot again. Mm-hmm. When you hear Appalachian State, what do you think of? Is there a
considering I have a cousin who went there, and I have family in North Carolina, I think the mountains, I think...
is there a specific game involving Appalachian State?
Oh, Michigan. Duh.
Okay. That's when he said Appalachian State, as I'm interviewing, I'm like, okay, I remember that. I know where that school is. That's the school that beat Michigan that year. So.
Yep, 34-32.
So, hey, you even know the record. So you got family there. Boone, right? I think Boone is where the school is.
Yep.
Yeah. So. Look at that. So next time you go see family, you can catch up with Mike Longo in North Carolina.
Yeah, why not?
All right, and finally, Mountain Pass League Girls Soccer. We talked about him last week. They've, in recent years, dominated this league. Beaumont has been resurgent. They've got a strong senior class. I checked out Beaumont against Tockwitz last night, and Tockwitz won 3-2. So what does this all mean? So Hemet has one tie. Tockwitz has one loss, and Beaumont has a loss and a tie after going through the League One. So it's still kind of a jumbled mess, but Hemet still has that slight lead on Tockwitz and Beaumont for that league championship. So let's go to the highlights last night. It was a great game the first half, and soccer is a beautiful sport, but it's also kind of funny that a team can be so dominant in one half. You get to the second half, and the other team comes out and makes the other team look like they have no business being on the field. It's just strange that way, but
I mean, it's I think good teams make adjustments in the breaks. Whether you're talking football, basketball, soccer, hockey, between periods, go out, you see what you need to see, make the adjustments, and try and exploit whatever weaknesses you find. I mean, that's what good teams do, regardless of sport.
And that's what Beaumont did. They did lose, but it was a far closer game in the second half. And here's the highlights from Tuesday night. Beaumont taking on Tockwitz in girls soccer. Join me, Pep Fernandez, at Beaumont High School as the Cougars battled Tuckwitz in Mountain Pass League girls soccer action. Beaumont began Tuesday tied with Hemet atop the league standings. Tuckwitz just one loss back, and the Titans strike first. Rosalinda Ariano pokes in the goal right there. Then later in the first half, check out this free kick from Jordan Steele. Rips one from long range and buries it. 2-zip Tuckwitz on top at the half. Second half, Beaumont begins a constant, steady attack on the Titans' net. Caitlin Cooper with the free kick, but a great stop by the Tuckwitz keeper, Kaylee Westmoreland. Later, it's Cooper with another free kick. This one bounces off the underbelly of the crossbar. Westmoreland has it, but the referee rules that the ball crossed the goal line, so Beaumont is on the board, down 2-1. The Titans, Calvanis Prentice, tallied a score to put Tuckwitz up 3-1, but the Cougars continued to pepper the Titans' goal with plenty of shots in the final minutes. Haley Campbell blasts a shot and in for the goal. Beaumont pulls within one, trailing 3-2. Now it's the Cougars with the corner kick. Sierra Gosen Mariscal lets it fly, but Westmoreland, a.k.a. Spider-Man, swoops in and snatches the ball. Tuckwitz dominated the first half, but the second half belonged to Beaumont. Kaylee Grimes with a shot from point blank, but there's Spider-Man once again for Tuckwitz. Beaumont would fight to the finish, and Carissa Phillips rips a great shot right at the far post, but Westmoreland gets sideways for another Spider-Man-like save. Tuckwitz wins 3-2 as the Titans improve to 4-1 in the Mountain Pass. Beaumont drops to 3-1 as both teams try to catch first-place Hemet. Keep an eye on the Press Enterprise for more on Beaumont defender Morgan Shugart in the coming days. I'm Pep Fernandez with HS Game Time and PE.com. All right, so that was the highlights from Beaumont and Tuckwitz, and as I mentioned in the highlights, we'll have more with the star defender for Beaumont, Morgan Shugart. So Kyle, her 8th grade year, she broke her hip. Ooh. Yeah, try to put some feeling into that, because she broke it, tried to come back, re-injured it. And she said it's been hard, but now she's a senior and she's a captain, and she's kind of made it all the way back, but still returning from an injury like that. She said she's just never really been the same, but still enjoying a pretty good high school career. And we're going to have more on Morgan in the coming days here at the Press Enterprise. So.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not an easy injury to come back from.
Yeah. As a defender, I don't know how familiar with soccer. I mean, as a defender, you got to be physical, you got to take chances, you got to be fast. And she said, she still does it, but it's always kind of in the back of her head because she's already done it twice.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things you got to find a way to balance. You don't want to overcompensate because then you injure something else, but you also want to be aware. It's a tricky balance.
Absolutely. So once again, thank you to Adrenaline Athletic Training in Riverside and as well as Corona. And a big shout out to Leonard Russell and all the guys over there. We promise we'll see you very soon. We miss you. We miss talking to you and seeing you guys' faces each and every Wednesday. So we'll be back at Adrenaline very, very soon. For Kyle Glaser, I'm Pep Fernandez. We'll be back next Wednesday and talk National Signing Day. How does that sound?
Perfect.
And we're scheduled to have Vianney Talamaval from Centennial here in studio. So we'll see you again next Wednesday right here on the Blitz live at 5:30.